On the 20th December 2025, my partner Ben and I moved to Dubai. Moving country is always a big change, especially when relocating from the UK to somewhere as fast-paced as the UAE. So I thought I would share my 6-month review, what surprised me, what I love about living here, the day-to-day life, the running scene, any drawbacks, anything I can think of. Now this is not going to be a how to move to Dubai guide with like the visa process and all those things. I just want to share my experience of what it's been like living here, and also I'm not generalizing the expat experience. It is very much all from my own point of view and my own experience. Let's start with the 5 things that I love the most about living here. The top one being personal safety. I can't tell you how liberating it's been not to have to worry about my own safety when I'm out and about, when I'm running early in the morning alone, anywhere, anytime, wherever I am. I don't have to worry about that sort of things. You see people leaving valuables in plain sight, like you see runners leaving their phone on a bench on Kite Beach. They go for a run, they come back, the phone, the wallet, the camera, everything is still there. And this should be the baseline everywhere. Unfortunately, it's not the case, as we all know. And everywhere I lived before, I had to worry about that sort of stuff. When I lived in Paris, I had to worry about pickpockets on the tube. When I lived in East London, phone snatching was a big thing, so I was clutching my purse, not getting my phone out in public. And even in a small town like Shrewsbury or Chester, where we lived as well, like when I was running early in the morning alone, I wasn't feeling 100% safe. I was always a bit cautious that maybe something could happen. The fact that I don't have to worry about that sort of stuff anymore is a huge perk. The next one is convenience, which is just unmatched. I have never experienced this level of convenience before. There is an app for absolutely everything you may want or need. If I wanted right now, I could book for someone to come and clean my sofa and they'd be here in the next 25 minutes. You can get anything and everything delivered to you, taken care of for you. Even fuel for your car can be delivered to your house. And even when we got our official residency documents, they were delivered to us via Peeve, which is the app you use to get absolutely anything delivered or booked. We didn't have to go to an official building. Like if it was in the UK, we'd have to go to the embassy, like the whole palaver. Here, just delivered via Peeve. Now the downside to that is that we quickly get used to it, and I reckon we've become a bit more lazy here because it is affordable enough that you'd rather pay than do it yourself. Even for things like meals, getting a healthy meal delivered, I'm talking about fresh food like a fresh salad, a wrap, something like that, not just cheap junk food. It's not more expensive than going to the shop, buying the ingredients one by one, going back home, cooking the whole thing. So we do order on delivery a few times a week now, especially, and I don't know if it's the case in other countries because I never knew this before, but here in Dubai, we've got our delivery account linked to the Amazon Prime account, and we only pay for Amazon Prime and we get the delivery fee completely free. The third one is the weather. Most of the year, I would say. When we moved in December, it was absolutely lovely, low to mid 20s, no snow, no rain, no cold, no gray sky, just perfectly lovely weather. I'm someone who's really, really affected by the weather. So usually every year I get seasonal affective disorder. I absolutely hate the winter. I wish I could skip it. And this year I got to skip it, and it was incredible. And I would say it was really fun and really enjoyable, and we were able to be outside any time of the day up until mid-May, and then it started to be like, oh, okay, this is next level. This is like really hot now. But one thing to note is that this country is built to handle the heat. It's not like the UK where when there's a heat wave, nobody knows what to do with themselves because the country is not equipped to handle that. Whereas here, it feels like it doesn't hit the same because you've got the beaches, you've got pools, there's aircon absolutely everywhere, there's a lot of indoor activities. And honestly, it's not so unbearable that you can't be outside at all. Like you've got little pockets during the day where it's kind of fine. And the main challenge for us really is that we are runners. And now it's starting to get really hot and really humid in the morning. That is the challenge. If we were not runners, if we were not trying to still run outside, I don't think it would be, really bad. The fourth one is the UAE, and I would say maybe Dubai specifically really fosters success, expansion, development, and growth, doing well for yourself and wanting more, wanting to grow your business, wanting to be more comfortable, let's say it, wanting to make more money. It is encouraged, it is celebrated. Of course, the UAE made it financially attractive for businesses and entrepreneurs to be here. So they've been breeding this mindset of expansion, and you've got a higher concentration of, let's call it, successful people, like, people who you would say they made it and they want to make it even more. Here you won't find negativity, bitterness, grumpiness towards people and businesses with ambition, unlike you will find in other countries that simply don't have that growth mindset in their DNA. And the fifth one is diversity. There's over 200 nationalities here. There's more expats than Emiratis. And I don't know how to explain, I don't know how it works, but it blends in a way that I've not seen anywhere else I've lived before. Like, it is just very inclusive, very respectful. Everyone coexists peacefully. Maybe it's because all of us expats are so grateful to be here. We value our quality of life so much. Maybe it's because there's laws to prevent disruption, to guarantee public order. But whatever this is, works, and it creates such a peaceful and welcoming environment for everyone. Now let's balance it out with some of the practical realities, which I'm not going to say were unexpected because we kind of like knew about those things, but until you've moved here and you've experienced this for yourself, it's kind of hard to like get a proper grasp on those things. The first one being traffic, being on the roads, driving in Dubai. Work from home, so we actually don't have to commute during rush hours, and we are rarely caught in traffic jams. We can pick and choose when we want to be driving, but for anyone who moves here and will have to drive to work, really pick your neighborhood wisely. What makes me feel uneasy is not so much the traffic, it's more the erratic driving. Honestly, it feels like you're in a video game, like a driving video game. I'm on the edge of my seat every time we're in the car. I've got the adrenaline pumping, and I'm always like, it's not because I don't trust Ben as a driver, it's because I don't trust the other drivers. I feel like the driving here is a lot more erratic. There's a lot of last-minute lane swerving, and wow, it's stressful. Another one is healthcare. In Dubai, we are required to have private health insurance, which was a lot more costly than what we expected. If you want to have access to the good healthcare facilities, it is pricey. Now we've actually not had to use our health insurance yet, and I don't really want to have to use it, but if we were to have anything, we could be seen on the day, like within the next couple hours. It's not like we would be given an appointment in a few weeks or a few months' time for anything. Another one is air quality, which is something I never ever considered when I lived in Europe. Like, it never crossed my mind to wonder about the air quality. Now it's something we kind of have to consider a little bit. So we have an app, it's called IQ Air, and it measures the air quality. I don't think I trust it completely. I don't think it's 100% accurate, but it does give us a ballpark of where we are. So when it's green, it is very good air quality. When it's red, it's really bad, polluted. You shouldn't be outside, especially not exercising outside. In Dubai, I have never seen it green. It is usually yellow, like today. So yellow is not perfect, but it's still good. You can still be outside, out and about, exercising, all of this. It sometimes is orange. When it's orange, if you have asthma or respiratory issues, you shouldn't be outside. When it's orange, we still run outside, but it's almost like we can feel it in the air, that the air is a bit more polluted. And it has happened a handful of times. Air quality on the app was in the red. Usually it was for a few hours in the morning, and then it would improve later in the day. So we do run later in the day, or we run on the treadmill. And we have actually also invested in air purifiers for inside the house. Again, something I never thought I would purchase in my life. But so right now we have absolutely perfect air quality inside the house, which is where we spend most of the time. So I'm hoping that it balances out, spending most of the time indoors in perfect air quality and maybe a couple hours outside in not so perfect air quality. I'm hoping it evens out. The final one is the water. It is really not recommended to be drinking tap water. So we have to buy bottled water, which is not a huge expense, but it was a bit of a change for us because we never did that before. Like, we were always fine drinking tap water. And now we can't anymore. Now, moving on to what I would call the Dubai paradox. On one hand, it is incredibly advanced, fast-paced, dynamic. It absolutely embraces progress and technology. For instance, they're developing the concept of helicopter taxis, they're scaling construction projects incredibly fast, they're absolutely embracing AI. You can do, I don't know, like indoor skiing. It feels like, on one hand, there is no limit as to what can be done, and they're really one step ahead. They are looking towards the future. On the other hand, some services and some things are still a bit old school, like paying rent. So the rent here is in checks, and we don't pay a monthly rent. It's 2 to 4 times a year, depending on what your contract with your landlord is. And when we learned that it was checks, we thought it was a figure of speech. We didn't expect to have to write a check. We thought it was going to be some kind of bank transfer. To our biggest surprise, we indeed needed to order a checkbook from the bank, fill it in, give it to the landlord, who cashed it in. And also our first gas bill, I couldn't quite believe it. So when they opened the front door, I see a little piece of white paper on the ground, so I pick it up, and it was like a receipt from a gas company with a certain amount. The next day, someone knocks on the door, and it was someone from that gas company telling me that I should pay the money that was on the receipt that had been dropped on the floor at my front door. At first, I thought it was a scam. I was like, there's no way this is how you pay bills here. I think it's because at the time they didn't have our details like phone number and email address, because the next gas bill, I did get a payment link through my phone. And yeah, in some ways, it's like this organized chaos. Just like when you're on the road with the driving, how it is, I'm so surprised that there's not more accidents, so it must be working somehow. And also, for instance, there's not an address for every location. Not every street has a name. Our street doesn't have a name. And I do not know how we get all the deliveries in. Massive respect to the delivery drivers. I don't know how they do it, considering that Google Maps is really no help in some areas here. And sometimes I'll get a WhatsApp or a call from the delivery driver, and he's like, oh, send location pin, please, ma'am. And then he turns up and all the things get delivered. They end up at the right address somehow. Something else we've experienced here is that we are exposed to wealth like we were not before wherever we live. And I'm not saying that everyone in Dubai is rich or super rich, because that's simply not the case. There's a lot of financial disparities, but we are in a much closer proximity to very wealthy people compared to before. Like in Shrewsbury, my neighbor did not have a Lamborghini. In East London, I did not see any kids in the neighborhood being driven to school by a private chauffeur. When I go to the pool here, I am wearing Havaianas sandals. The woman next to me is wearing Chanel sandals, and she's bringing her luxury handbag to the pool. Like, it is not the same. You should see some of the cars on our road. You should see some of the villas on our estate, let alone other estates that are more affluent. And knowing that this lifestyle exists somewhere for some people is very different to when you see it in person, like this close to you. And man, it has really opened my eyes. Like, I really understand now that there's levels to this game, and I find it inspiring and motivating. It's just, I mean, it is flabbergasting sometimes, like how some people live. If we ever thought that we had made it, like Dubai will humble you, because we have made nothing. We are very much at the bottom of what's possible. One of the risks here is to lose yourself a bit and start doing things for sure, or because other people do them, rather than because it's truly what you want to do. There are so many activities and things you can do here. It is just mind-blowing. When we moved here, I started to follow a bunch of pages on Instagram to get an idea of what was going on, like Time Out Dubai, Dubai Pike. There's also a bunch of wellness pages that are specifically telling you about the fitness and wellness events, and man, there are just too many options. And sometimes I'm going to see something like yoga on a yacht, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should totally do that. And then I think twice, and I'm like, but do I actually really want to do that? Do I want to do that because it would bring me joy and it would be an experience that I actually enjoy? Or is it because it looks good and I would have kind of like FOMO not doing it, and it would just be nice to post about it, So I really have to check twice with myself, because I don't mind spending money on experiences, and I want to try different things, but I also don't want to waste my money on things that don't actually make me feel fulfilled in any way. I really want to have a life that feels good to me, not looks good to others. And it's really hard to do in Dubai sometimes because you've got this shiny object syndrome. There's just too many things to do, too many temptations everywhere. Very easy to just lose track of that. Now for my pet peeve, some people's reactions. Dubai is so polarizing for some reason. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, okay? But people like to voice it very strongly when it comes to expats in Dubai. They really go out of their way to ensure that you know what they think about you when you have decided that you wanted another life for yourself and that you wanted to move to the UAE to experience this side of the world. Usually the main argument is tax. They're like, oh, you're just here because you don't want to pay tax, you don't want to contribute to society. Yes, in Dubai there's no personal tax, but a lot of other things are expensive, like healthcare, I talked about, people who have kids, education. We also pay housing fee, which is like the council tax in the UK. That is not cheap. So don't assume that we're getting an absolutely free ride because we don't pay personal tax. Now, on the other side of the coin, there's another category of people in our entourage. Since we moved to Dubai, all of a sudden, they're a lot more interested in what we're doing, licking our boots a bit more. And it's interesting. It's not like we don't notice it. And finally, being in Dubai as a runner, the running scene is really growing and booming. Before moving here, I was trying to look into running groups and communities, and I found a few. But when I moved here, I really realized how many there were and how big the running community was. I run mostly alone, but I do like to join in a club time to time for a session or something like that. But if you're someone who wants to only do social running with clubs and communities, oh my gosh, you could do several a day here. And there's also a lot of different running spots. You can run by the beach, you've got parks, you can run in the desert, there's really good running tracks. The racing scene, I would say, hasn't quite caught up yet. It is a lot less competitive than what I've experienced in road racing in the UK or other European countries like Spain or even Denmark. That is a bit missing, but honestly, give it a few years. I think it's really going to step up. The races here are going to be a lot more competitive and it's going to be great. All in all, as you can gather, I absolutely love being a resident of the UAE. I love living in Dubai. And that's really funny because at first it was Ben who pushed more for us to move to Dubai. And at first I was like, no, I don't really want to, no. And then we moved here, and out of us two, I'm really the one who's like super keen to stay a lot longer than what we had originally planned. Like I would stay for a very long time here. That's how much I love it. So I think that's the end of the video. I think I waffled on for long enough. I will edit it and probably realize that I forgot to say a lot of things. So maybe in 6 months' time, I'll do a part 2, we'll see. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye!